Differences aren't bad. We are all different. We don't have to be exact clones of each other to be able to get along. What we have to do is enjoy the commonalities and respect the differences. It really isn't that hard. I always think of the Christian coat of many colors. The flowers in a the wildflowers in a field that has never been touched by humans. That's us and the differences. And I've highlighted a few differences lately. The difference between echo chambers and safe spaces, the difference between culture and poverty. Today I'm going to tackle another one. We're going to look at the difference between internalized oppression, which I talk about a lot, and imposter syndrome. And yes, it's because it comments on my videos. So let's talk about it. Bonjour, Mishko Paganan, Quain Edition Cosmangdodam. Hi, everybody. My name is Sandy Boucher. I'm Red Thunderbolt Woman of the Loon Clan, a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Treaty 3 territory in Northern Ontario. And as promised, today we're going to look at the difference between internalized oppression and imposter syndrome. So, this is the way I look at it as a person who has experienced both. So, first off, let's look at the definition of internalized oppression. So, internalized oppression is what is experienced by a human being who belongs to a group that has been oppressed for a long period of time. And what happens is they start to internalize the oppression. So it's not just other people saying that Indigenous people are lazy. It's an Indigenous person believing that Indigenous people are lazy. It is those people that so desperately want to be accepted in mainstream, that they're so assimilated that they call out Indigenous. They're calling out their own. Internalized oppression, the way I often describe it because of the way it feels, is we put up barriers between us and the success we desire before anyone else has to, because we inherited that oppression has been around since the day we were born. I don't know if you know this, but it's definitely a reality. There are many problematic non-Indigenous people that believe that when it comes to, can I say sex on YouTube? I guess I can say that. When it comes to sex, that Indigenous women don't have the right to say no. I mentioned it in another video that often when it was the whole dating realm, uh, if someone, showed interest or asked me out, and I mean, I'm not going to crucify someone for asking me out. I'm not going to be rude. My mom would reach down and slap me for doing that. But just to say, like, thank you, but no, I don't think that's a good idea, would often invoke the most horrific racist slur in response, proving to me that I just dodged a bullet, of course. But they were, and I'm talking, these people were absolutely stunned that I thought I had the right. And you wonder the roots of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. There's actually, the roots go way back to when the settlers first got here and started talking about treaties and just, there are so many of our nations that are maternalistic, where the women ran the communities. I know for the Haudenosaunee, which is not my nation, the Iroquois nation, they had grandmother councils that advised the chief in council. And I believe they still have grandmother councils. But like I was told this teaching, and I was blown away. Why they had grandmother councils. They believed that only are you ready for this? You better sit down. This is mind blowing. They believe that only a mother has the right to decide that if some cause is worth her son dying for. Meaning there were times that there was such a threat against the community that yes, it was worth sending the warriors out, and she knew she was putting her son's life on the line, but that only a mother could make that decision, not some hot-headed guy in the heat of the moment, but that mother who knew the price tag that could be paid. I'm sorry, I just thought that was amazing. Wouldn't that change the world? And yes, that may be biased, but it's definitely how I see things. Now, internalized oppression gets to a person in two ways. The first is the voice in your head. They're never going to hire me. They're never going to accept me. I shared the video of my own internalized oppression story. If you didn't see it, go look for it. I think it's literally in the title that says that. Yeah, it says in my own story. So that voice in your head that is constant, and it will talk you out of applying for the job, applying to go to school, whatever. It's huge. And if you make it past that voice in your head, there's another way it can get to you, and that's the voice of the group. That's your friend saying, "You really want to do this? You really want to move away? You really think you could do college?" It's the strangers saying to me, "Do you really think anyone would buy one of your books?" They said that when the first one was coming out. 4 books later, I'm not worried. Anyways, that's internalized oppression. Imposter syndrome is what happens when, you're brand new in that job, or you're at a conference with other people that hold the same position as you, but they all seem more experienced, and you're thinking that like you feel like an imposter, that you're going to be found out. And it can be very overwhelming, and it's scary as all heck. Like, I don't want to minimize that. But here's the difference for me. I'm just trying to think, what's the term? Imposter syndrome. Thank you, because I always talk about internalized oppression. Imposter, who did I just say thank you to? Creator, thank you for giving me the word. Imposter syndrome is the feeling that you don't belong on this rung of the ladder, this new position or this new job or this new event, that you're going to be found out as an imposter, right? And like I said, that can be overwhelming. Internalized oppression is believing, you're doubting that you have the right to be on the ladder. Do you see the difference? Imposter syndrome is doubting that uncomfortableness that comes with achieving new levels. Internalized oppression is, I don't dare, I don't have the right to step on the first step. I don't have the right to share my truth, to say what I need, to breathe, to leave this community, to be upset, to complain about anything. Internalized oppression is crushing, soul crushing. And again, I do not want to minimize imposter syndrome, but you were gutsy enough to take that new job, even though you now doubt that you can do it. Internalized oppression stops you from even trying. And that's why, in my opinion, internalized oppression is imposter syndrome on steroids. So if you've experienced, don't argue this. Remember back to back teaching? I'm sharing what it looks like in my side of the room that you can't see. If you know what imposter syndrome feels like, instead of minimizing internalized oppression, you're one of the people that could actually imagine how bad it is. Because there's a whole bunch of people that have never experienced imposter syndrome. They have a really hard time struggling with the idea of internalized oppression. But if you have experienced imposter syndrome, then you got a really good shot at being an ally in this instance and understanding what internalized oppression feels like. And by the way, for the women watching this, Women are a marginalized group, so really good chance you've experienced both as well. Just putting that out there, which is why missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls is so horrific. You have female marginalized, Indigenous marginalized, double whammy. I hope that made sense. I hope that cleared this up. All of this, I love this versus this, because this is bridge building. This is coming at it from both sides and finding that middle ground. So I hope it made sense. Can't wait to see your comments. And I'll see you again tomorrow. I love you. Take care. Bye bye.